The summer before high school was when I started my business. I didn't think much of it. I had some money saved up which I used as an investment and just began. I didn't even imagine people would be that interested. I did it because I had free time and some ideas floating around my head. At first, it was hard because I spent all summer working and trying to get everything in motion. But things got better because I started seeing my business grow and people actually interested in spending on my products. But school had started and cut my work time by more than half. I had a bunch of things to do, orders to fulfill. My orders were coming in faster than I was able to produce, which led to slacking off in both areas in my life. I started struggling to keep up at school as well as in my business. I was barely sleeping or eating and my parents were starting to notice. They suggested I take a break from my work and only focus on my studies, but I was completely against it. I knew that if I shut down my business now, I may never be able to get it to take off again. After much discussion, I convinced my parents to talk to the school about giving me more time. I knew it was high school, and the next step was college, but with how successful my business was, I don't think it was what I wanted. I knew studying wasn't going to be my priority, but I was going to finish high school at least. My teachers were very impressed with me and thought that I was doing great things at my age, especially since I handled most of my business on my own. "Avery, we want you to know that you have our full support for as long as you promise to not become lazy," my principal told me, and I agreed. It wasn't my intention to get more free time, just enough extra time to be able to be fair to both work and school. And everything was fine till Mr. Anderson became my math teacher. He was terrible. He was new and replaced Mr. T, who was a sweetheart, but he had decided to stop teaching. I was so close to graduating, and then this new teacher came along to make my life hell. Unlike the other teachers, he gave me no leeway even though he knew about my business. He gave me longer assignments because he wanted to prepare us for finals. Who even starts that early into the year? At first, I thought I could ask the other teachers to bring down my coursework so it would balance out Mr. Anderson's work, but they were already doing their best and couldn't reduce anything anymore. I was so disappointed and tired, but thanked them nonetheless. "Mr. Anderson, I have a business, and I really don't think I need to do this assignment. I did great on your surprise test, so you know I'm all caught up. Could you please let this one go? I don't know what I ever did to this man for him to be so mean to me." "Absolutely not. You can either complete this and hand it in by tomorrow, or you can expect a lower grade." "But, You can leave now, Avery." I had a really big order to do and other schoolwork that was just as important as this one. So I did the only thing I could. I crammed it all in one go. I spent all day and all night finishing all my schoolwork and completing the orders. The next day I was burnt out and dead on my feet. I could barely keep my eyes open, but I got through the day. It was difficult, but it gave me the confidence that I could do this even though my teacher hated me. And he did not go easy on me after that. He cut my marks for silly things and asked me to stay back after class so he could yell at me. "I don't know what you think of yourself, Avery, with your little business, but you're not going to get special treatment just because of it. You need to pay more attention in class or I will fail you. You do not want to see what happens when the coursework gets even harder." That day, I went home and cried. I couldn't believe that Mr. Anderson thought that I was the kind of person who thought of myself as someone superior. I wasn't. I was a hard-working student who put more time and effort than most people do my age. But his words had already done the damage. I was very discouraged, and it showed in all aspects of my life, including math. I sometimes even skipped class because I couldn't bear to hear another lecture from my teacher. The only thing that made me happy was my business. I was content working for it, and it really became something I looked forward to doing. So I started taking on bigger orders, and before I knew it, my product was being sold on a larger scale than most businesses that have only been operating for more than a year. The whole thing threw me off my schedule, and school was not part of my day anymore. Most of the teachers were sympathetic and understanding, but even they weren't able to put up with it for longer. "I understand you have things to do, but you really are disappointing us, Avery," my English teacher told me, but her words were nowhere near as impactful as Mr. Anderson's words. When Mr. Anderson's class time came around, I dreaded going in because I knew my previous test result was nowhere near his expectations. And I anticipated correctly. He called out my name in class and had me come to the middle of the class. "Do you know what you scored in your test, Avery?" I shook my head. I knew it couldn't be as bad as he was making it out to be, but he hates me, so I know anything below a 90 was a fail to him. "You've got a C minus! A C minus!" he shouted so that everyone in the class would know. "Do you have any idea how this reflects on me? This makes it seem like I am a bad teacher, but that's not the case, is it? I'm a great teacher. You need to fix this, Avery, or you're going to be a loser for the rest of your life. You will never amount to anything with the way you are going right now. I don't care how successful your business is, because at the end of the day, no college will accept you if these are your grades." He was publicly shaming me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I don't even want to go to college, and math is not even my future, so you have no right to be yelling at me. He was furious. I watched him turn red, and he ordered me to follow him to the principal's office. When the situation was explained, my principal looked at me with regret in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Avery, but this kind of behavior is unacceptable. I'm afraid if your attitude is set for not pursuing further education, then perhaps you should stop coming to school altogether." And just like that, I was expelled. No one wanted to hear my side of the story. When I got home, I had no idea how I'd break it to my parents. The school said they'd contact them, but I had to tell them myself first. My mother was in our living room, jumping excitedly. When I entered, "What's going on?" I asked, and tried to keep up with her excited squealing. "I just got a call." "From?" She squealed again. "It was from this really big business tycoon. They want you to sign a deal with them so you can build inventory and work on a larger scale." Wow, I was so shocked. I didn't even know someone that big and famous would know about my business. Are you serious?" "Yes, darling." She pulled me into a big hug. "You don't even know how proud your father and I are of you." I was so happy, I couldn't even process it all. "Wow, so when do we meet?" I didn't want to ruin my mother's excitement yet by telling her about my day. "Tonight?" "What?" All my thoughts about being expelled left my brain. There will always be another day to tell my parents, but business tycoons only call once. "I have to pick the right outfit!" My entire family spent the rest of the time getting ready. To be honest, I was so nervous that I almost didn't want to go. I am only 17, and I could very much mess this up. I did some research about this man, and turns out he has more money than a god. He has invested in various businesses, and they have all done pretty well. This could be my big break. I started all of this because of boredom, and now it was really making something of itself. We drove to this really big and pretty house. Someone escorted us inside, and I had butterflies in my stomach. "Good evening." A man in a perfectly tailored suit approached us and put his hand forward for me to shake it. We introduced ourselves and did all the formalities, and he really put me at ease. I thought he would be an entitled rich man, but he was really nice. "So, how did you start your business?" "I had a lot of time during the summer holidays and thought it would be a good idea." "You juggle school and work at the same time. That's very impressive." I scratched my head and laughed nervously. I have been facing some issues with some of my teachers recently, but my school has been very supportive. We talked some more and finished dinner. When dessert was served, he talked about the actual reason for us being there. "As you know, I want to invest in your business and help you expand." I nodded eagerly. "I would love that!" "How about we sign a contract?" He pushed a few papers towards me, and I flipped through them. That's when my eyes landed on the amount. $10 billion? This man was offering me more money than I knew existed. "Are you sure there isn't a mistake in the number?" He chuckled and shook his head. "No, I'm very serious about things when it comes to money." I showed the number to my parents, and both of them started to tear up from the joy of it. I'll take it!" I couldn't believe the way my day had flipped. I went from being expelled to signing a deal that ensured that my family and I would be taken care of forever. My father read the contract, and we agreed to sign it. I was officially a billionaire! Well, not technically yet, but the money would start rolling in at any time. Mr. Anderson couldn't have been more wrong. I did make something of myself. My parents were happy. I was happy. It was all a dream come true. On the way back home, I decided to tell my parents. When I told them everything that had been going on with Mr. Anderson, my parents weren't mad at all. They told me I did the right thing by not listening to him. Mom, Dad, I don't think I want to continue with school. I have been thinking about it since I signed the contract. I mean, why would I still need school? Both my parents went quiet, and I thought they'd make me write a sorry letter or something so I could go back, but... It's all right, honey. You can take a break for now and focus on the business. You can go back any time if you think that's what you want, my dad said. You've proved yourself enough already, sweetheart. I was so relieved I would never have to go back. Soon enough, I was on the news for being a young entrepreneur, and I knew somewhere Mr. Anderson was really salty about it.